We are back with the New England Revolution team preview, the third and final preview of this podcast episode. New England Revolution, a big turnaround last season under new coach at the time, Bruce Arena. Yes, the U.S. national team legend Bruce Arena. He really turned things around after another USMNT player of Brad Friedel was let go. It was a rough start for the Revs back last season, and then Bruce Arena came in, they brought a couple signings in, and things turned around. Are things going to continue on the uptrend this season? Only time will tell. Make sure to stick around for the end of our preview here. We will give you our ceiling and floor and let you know what we think our predictions will be for the Revs. So, off-seasons, ins and outs. A lot of movement from the New England Revolution. Some of the players in: defender Alex Butner, on a free midfielder Damian Rivera, a homegrown player. Kellen Rowe. Yes, Kellen Rowe is back in New England. I think that's where he played his best soccer when he was a member of the Revs. He got moved around a little bit. He's been kind of all over the board. He was sporting Kansas City. He's back where he should be. Kellen Rowe is a great talent. I think he will really be able to help this Revs team out back in New England. Also, defender Seth Sinovic, a free agent they picked up who was with Sporting Kansas City. I think that's another solid free agent signing. Also, their big signing, Adam Buska from Poland, transfer from Pogoń Szczecin. As well, Samba Kamara, a defender, and defender Henry Kessler from the Super Draft. Players out. Janil Anibaba was picked up in the expansion draft. Juan Aguadillo was option declined and was picked up in the re-entry draft by Toronto FC, and then could not come to terms with TFC and signed with Miami. So if you look at Janil Anibaba got picked up in the expansion draft, kind of Aguadillo got picked up in the expansion draft, even though technically he did not. Forward Juan Fernando Caicedo, his option was declined. Edgar Castillo, Michael Macien, Brian Wright, all had their options declined. Goalkeeper Cody Cropper is out of contract, and midfielder Zachary Harrivel. A lot of movement for New England. I really, really like their signings, the guys they've brought in. Alex Butner looks to be a strong signing. As well, you've got Kellen Rowe, Seth Sinovic, two MLS veterans. Kellen Rowe, as I mentioned before, he started in New England. That's where he played his best soccer. So it's good to see him back. I think he will do big things for them. Seth Sinovic is also a solid defender, a solid player to keep on their back line. Expect big things from some of these new players. Adam Buska, don't really know a lot about him, but I expect he will. He's a DP signing, and they have hit the ball out of the park on their previous DP signings. So it should be interesting. Let's now, talking about those DPs, let's get into it. There are three designated players. They have all three filled. First up, Carlos Gil, one of the better players. Kind of finished, I believe he finished in the MVP voting last season for MLS MVP. Carlos Gil is an extremely talented midfielder, distributor. He can score goals, has really hit his stride well, and was pretty much an unknown coming into the league. Gustavo Bo was transferred in from Tijuana last year, and he matched up with Carlos Gil, and they tore the league apart. These guys played extremely well together. They complement extremely well together, and the chemistry is definitely there. So two really solid DPs. Now the third, Adam Buska. This one is interesting because he came over from Poland. I don't know a ton about him, but he is a strong signing for the Revs, because you know what, until they prove me wrong and sign somebody bad, this management group, I'm going to go and give him the benefit of the doubt and say he's probably going to be a pretty solid signing. So as far as Buska, he played last season. He had 18 matches in the Polish league, 7 goals and 3 assists. Not a great number over there, but not bad. He is very young. He's 23 years old. That's pretty. That's probably the most important number here is the fact that he's younger. So you put Adam Busca and Gustavo Bo up top, getting fed by Carlos Gil. That is going to be a very potent offense. That I think is kind of the magic formula in MLS for designated players. We've seen DPs as defenders, doesn't really work out well. We've seen DPs as goalkeepers, that never works out well. And then you kind of need midfielders and really attacking mids with strikers. If you pair them up like that and have your DPs be strikers and attacking mids, that's how you get the best bang for your buck in MLS with those DPs. So those three, I think they've got the right formula there, and should be fun to watch for New England. Now, as far as breakout youngsters, Justin Rennicks. This is a guy, youth national team player for the U.S. He scored a big goal. I can't remember exactly who it was against, but that was kind of what got his name out there. He scored that decent, it was really like a game winner in stoppage time to put them into a qualifying tournament or something to that nature. So he is one to watch. I think he, being a youth player, Bruce Arena with his ties to the national team, I think he likes that youth, and you'll see him get some time there in New England. Another of the breakout youngsters is going to be Tajon Buchanan. Here's a guy, a Generation Adidas player that could make waves for New England. He started out with I believe he was with Syracuse, who's a strong college program, as well as came from Canada. He's a Canadian player. So I think we'll see him do some from the hotbed of Brampton, Ontario. Who there's a lot of good young talent coming out of Brampton. The fact that he's GA, a lot of these Generation Adidas type players, their first year they kind of hang out and get some experience. Second, they're the second season they start to break out a little bit, and by the third they're fighting for a bigger and better contract. So expect to see big things out of Tajon Buchanan and Justin Rennicks. So those are the breakout youngsters for the New England Revolution. Now let's get into their projected starting 11. So again, as I've mentioned in the previous team preview episodes, the way I go about these is by going with the previous formation that they used in their last game of the season. The last formation used by Bruce Arena and the New England Revolution was a 4-4-2. So they're my best guess here to their starting 11. There's a lot of competition in this lineup. Is going to be Matt Turner. And then you've got Brandon Bye, Delamea, Farrell, and Butner across the back. As far as your midfield goes, I'm going to go with the midfielder Luis Caicedo, who's a Colombian, 23-year-old Colombian that seems to be not quite a breakout youngster, but an international signing. I expect him to get some minutes and break into that midfield over a Scott Caldwell type that's kind of been there in the past. As well, Kellen Rowe, Carlos Gil, and Pinilla with Busca and Bo up top. That's kind of what I think they'll go with. A solid back line. Delamea and Farrell are two very big, strong center backs, so I expect to see a lot of good defending out of them and not a ton of goals scored against them. Matt Turner, some question marks there as far as goalkeeper goes. Definitely could use an upgrade there, I think. But that's not, in MLS, goalkeepers are kind of a dime a dozen. You don't need a big-name guy. Some of these kind of journeymen have proven to do well over time. So most important player for the New England Revolution this season, I think the most important player, this is a tough one, because last season they both had such a strong season. You had Carlos Gil, and I think it really comes down to between the two, Carlos Gil and Gustavo Bo. Bo had an extremely strong finish to his season. I think the most important player has to go to Carlos Gil. He's kind of that maestro in the midfield that not only is he going to score goals, but he definitely has to be able to provide the service to those two DP strikers in Bo and Busca. So I wanted to go with Bo, but really, if he doesn't get the service from Carlos Gil, he's not going to be the most important player. So really, he has to be the most important player, and Carlos Gil has to be the most important player to make sure that the Revs are successful and continue this upward trend that they've had, starting with the middle of last season once Bruce Arena came in, and pretty much even a few games before he came in, as soon as they got rid of Brad Friedel. So look out for big things from Carlos Gil. Fans, let us know, who do you think the most important player is for the Revs? This is a team who I think a lot of the pundits are expecting big things from. Do you expect somebody other than Carlos Gil to be the most important player? Make your case and let us know at SOP Soccer on Twitter or through YouTube here in the comments. Make sure you subscribe and like our content. We're bringing lots of good content to YouTube here. Every single team preview will be posted up to YouTube, as well as during the season picks, predictions, and many more videos of awesome content. So make sure to subscribe. It really helps us out. Now, getting into the predictions. So again, there's a little bit of a disclaimer here. Watch out for our predictions the last week before the season starts. So the week of February 20th, once CCL kicks off, we'll be putting our predictions down on paper, myself and my co-host Nick. So look out for those then. Right now, we're kind of doing a little bit of a preliminary with what we've got now, what we're working with now. And a lot can change throughout the league in this next 4 to 5 weeks. So, with that being said, our ceiling for the New England Revolution is going to be third in the Eastern Conference. I think I've heard from others. One of our listeners, I was having a conversation with him the other day, and he's thinking that they could end up being the best team in the Eastern Conference. He's that hyped about the New England Revolution. I personally don't see him going all the way up to the top seed in the East. It could happen, but I don't think it's going to happen. My ceiling for them is going to be third place in the East, getting at minimum of one home game in the playoffs, and possibly even two. There's a good chance there could be two with the new single game formation. As far as floor goes, I think the worst case scenario, if all goes bad for New England, is the 8th spot in the Eastern Conference and just barely, painfully missing out on the playoffs. I think this team is almost a firm playoff lock to me, but it's close. There is that slight chance. I'd probably put it about 10% chance that they could hit their floor and end up being towards the bottom half of those playoff teams and fighting for a spot and just missing out. So there's my predictions for the New England Revolution for our team preview here. Let us know if there's any other information you want to hear about with New England Revolution. We will be talking about them, I am sure, going forward this season. Expect big things from them. So thanks for joining us for our team previews. Next up on the podcast, we will be talking about some news and notes to finish out this episode, and we'll take it in just a moment.